Hi, I'm Beau Young, and this is a basic guide to shaping your own surfboard. To start, you will need an electric planer, calipers, a set square, measuring tape, a surf arm, ear muffs, goggles, a particle mask, a rasp, board measuring rule, a block and sandpaper with 80 grit, 180 and 240 grit, a pencil, a surfboard template, gauze, a small hand plane, and a hand saw. Begin by milling your blank to your desired thickness using the electric planer. Check your board's thickness in the center of the blank with the calipers. Feel for any bumps or areas that are not flat on the blank and use your surf arm on both the deck and bottom of the board to make it as flat and as clean as possible. Measure your desired length of board from tail to nose using your measuring tape. Marking also your center width using your board measuring rule. Now measure both your nose and tail widths, measuring 12 inches up from the tail for this measurement and then 12 inches down from the nose for the nose measurement. Now that you have the three main marker points, you can lay your template on the bottom of the board and using your pencil, once the template is lined up, draw your surfboard outline on the blank. Now cut your outline out using your hand saw, trying to cut as squarely and clean to your pencil marking without going inside the line. Now the outline of your board is cut. Take your hard sanding block along with the 80 grit paper and clean up any bumps or areas that are not completely square on your outline. Next, getting a perfectly square outline, use your square to see where your cut from the saw may not be completely straight. Once the board has been cleanly templated, look at the natural curve of the blank and decide where you may want extra rocker. To add curve to nose and tail, use your planer to make a deeper cut, going up a few inches into the blank, then winding the planer depth back slightly and beyond your previous cut a few inches, and then repeat the process until you are happy with your tail and nose curves. During the entire shaping process, be aware of your surfboard stringer staying flush with the foam. The wooden stringer tends to sit proud of the foam, and it is important to be using your small hand plane on the stringer whenever the stringer is raised above the foam. Now is also the time to add concaves or V-bottoms to your shape. Concaves are done by cutting with your planer in the middle for multiple cuts, then less cuts wide of both sides of the major cuts, and then using your sandpaper, bringing the concave in nice and clean with sweeping strokes. A V-bottom shape is basically the reverse of this, with multiple cuts out wide towards the outside rail, with a lessening of depth the closer in you go to the stringer. Now that your board is templated, you are happy with both the curve and your bottom shape, it is time to look at shaping your rails. Using a pencil, mark the middle rail of the board all the way around, making the pencil mark defined, as this mark should stay on the board until your final rail gauzy. Beginning with your top rail or deck rail bands, use the electric planer at approximately a 45-degree angle. Running the planer a few times before changing your angle of the planer to follow your ridges and blend the rail. Turning the board onto its side in the racks, take your heavier gauze, start from the nose and begin to roll your gauze from the deck to near mid-rail in order to blend where your rail bands are sitting. Running from nose to tail, do this a few times until you are happy with the feel of your top rail. Now is the time to shape your bottom rail, and the first thing to really be aware of is how much rail edge you would like to keep. Depending on the board that you are shaping, it varies, but for a fun board, a general rule is approximately 14 inches of hard edge being kept through the tail. From the tail, measure up 14 inches, marking this spot on both outside rails. This will be the point you do not want to go past when shaping your bottom rail in. Work your rail bands on the upper and lower sides of the main banding with your planer, just like you have done with the top rail, being very aware to leave your hard rail edge marker intact. Now, with your lower rail bands complete, once again use your gauze to roll the bands through to a nice round rail, moving back and forth along the board nose to tail. It is a good time to blend both nose and tail in with the rest of the surfboard shape. Use your hard sanding pad and paper to shape the timber and foam. Now, using lighter sandpaper and a hard pad, start to really clean up the shape. Using 320 grit, sweep quickly to erase minor scratches in the foam and small blemishes. Now that you are ultimately happy with your shape, it is time to re-measure your length, wide point and thickness. In the center of your board, just above the stringer, write these measurements. On the underside of the stringer, sign your name, and now you have a fully completed surfboard.